The iPhone 17, new Apple Watches, new AirPods, and more are almost here. So today I want to show you all the latest leaks and rumors for Apple's September event, which is just around the corner. This is always their biggest product launch of the year, and the same will be true in 2025. Because starting off with the iPhone 17 models, they look pretty different from what Apple offered last year. The most striking new model is the iPhone 17 Air. This thing is ultra slim. It looks ridiculous when you hold a mock-up of it in your hand, and it measures in at just 5.5 millimeters. Essentially, the whole point of this phone is just going to be how cool it looks, because on the features side, it is definitely lacking. It only has one camera on the back, a single speaker at the top, and potentially none at the bottom, no physical SIM tray in any market around the world. The A19 chip is going to be a bit weaker than the Pro models, and most notably, the battery is going to be minuscule. So bad to the point where Apple plans to sell a battery case accessory on day one, because most people will not be able to get through a day without recharging. So on the other hand, if you want great battery, Apple is making the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17 Pro Max a bit thicker this year to include their largest batteries ever. It's really like the Air and the Pro will be at opposite ends of the spectrum for battery life. And that's built into a pretty different design on the Pros, one that is getting rid of titanium and swapping out for an aluminum unibody with this glass cutout for MagSafe and wireless charging to work. It's likely Apple is adding this to enable MagShare or reverse wireless charging, where your friend could put their phone on the back of yours and you could share battery power, but it also makes these phones look pretty unique and distinct. We know Apple always likes to do this with things such as the dynamic island or the notch, so even if you see the phone from far away, you already know it's an iPhone before you touch it. But in terms of the camera bar, Apple isn't just stretching this across for the looks. Underneath, they're working on a new part of the zoom lens that likely moves, so you'll be able to get continuous optical zoom without losing quality, which would be a standout feature for this generation. This year will also be the first time that Apple uses a 48 megapixel sensor across all three lenses, so the image quality is going to be stellar. And on the front, there's some notable changes too. Up top, the dynamic island should be getting a bit smaller, and in bright environments, Apple has put a new anti-reflective and scratch-resistant coating where you can see it in action on Android phones. It is going to be a dramatic difference if you use your phone in bright environments. Internally, Apple's going to be using their most powerful A19 Pro chip, and it's combined with an all-new cooling system called a vapor chamber. So if you use the phone for an extended duration, it ensures that the processor doesn't overheat or have to throttle down, giving you the best performance for the longest amount of time. Unfortunately, Apple is going to use all of these new features to justify a higher price, likely by about $50 on both the Pros and the Air. But if you want to spend the same amount of money year over year, the base iPhone 17 is going to be a similar looking but pretty compelling option. On the base iPhone 17 that will still cost around $800, the big upgrade this year is a larger 6.3-inch screen, but most importantly, one with 120 Hz technology for the first time ever on the base iPhone. This feature has been a ridiculously long time coming. It's going to make the screen look dramatically better, and they're even said to make the bezels thinner on here too. So basically imagine the current Pro iPhone display but at a base level. The only catch is that you won't get features like an always-on display because Apple is still using a cheaper panel technology because of course they want to cut costs in some way on their cheapest offering. The front-facing camera is also getting twice as good this year, increasing from 12 to 24 megapixels, and it's going to be the biggest upgrade for front-facing photos and videos that we've ever seen on the iPhone. On the inside, there will be some extra room now for a slightly larger battery, and there will be an A19 chip after all, but every other part of this phone is pretty unremarkable. At the end of the day, this feels way more like an iPhone 16s. The design doesn't even match the rest of the iPhone 17 lineup, and it really feels like Apple is releasing this just to say, look, we didn't raise the price on everything. You can still get a iPhone 17 for the same price as last year, even if it is barely an iPhone 17 at all. Overall though, I still think this design looks pretty clean, and speaking of things being clean, that's why I partnered up with MOVA, who sponsored today's video. This is their new M10 wet and dry vac, and it is incredible. With 18,000 pascals of powerful suction, this has been able to handle any mess I've thrown at it, and it's really nice for wet and dry messes combined because it'll separate them into two separate bins, which makes cleaning your vacuum out after super easy. One of my personal favorite features is the 180-degree handle that can go completely lie flat, so pretty much wherever a mess is, this is able to get to it because of this unique design. You've also got dual edge cleaning for those tight corners, and with the the advanced tangle-free solution and make sure that hair does not get stuck inside the vacuum as you're using it. Personally, I found the runtime on the vacuum to be pretty good, and when you do need to recharge, you just put it on the stand, which also features a 75 degrees hot water brush wash to self-clean the vacuum so you don't have to. So make your house cleaner with the MOVA M10 and click the link down below in the description to get one for yourself. A huge thank you to MOVA for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Fortunately, Apple has some much bigger changes planned for new AirPods Pro. It's been almost 3 years since Apple last updated these, and in the background, they've been working on some pretty substantial design changes, both for the buds that are going to be redesigned and the case that you carry around. Now, we don't know what they're going to look like just yet, but inside, Apple will be using their latest H series chip, which will not only improve audio quality, but it's said to dramatically increase active noise cancellation, or ANC, which is pretty impressive considering that the active noise cancellation on AirPods Pro is already kind of perfect in my experience. AirPods Pro 3 will also mark Apple's push into health outside of the Apple Watch, because these headphones will be getting a heartbeat sensor for the first time. It'll on the surface be useful for people that want to work out and get biometric data without using an Apple Watch. But from Apple's perspective, this is just the first of many health features they want to integrate into AirPods over time. Down the road, they're looking to add a temperature sensor and more, so they could alert you if your temperature was raised, maybe even before you knew you were getting sick. It's gonna be pretty cool, and AirPods Pro 3 will be the first glimpse at that. And this brings us to another milestone that Apple is celebrating at this year's September event, which is a decade of the Apple Watch. Yeah, somehow it's already been 10 years since Apple released this product, and in 2025, they're planning significant upgrades across their lineup. Beginning with their budget model, the Apple Watch SE, this could be switching to a plastic housing to further reduce cost and potentially lower the price, but especially make it more appealing to parents looking to buy a phone alternative for their kids. It'll get a faster chip on the inside, but because it's budget, it'll be recycled design and a little bit outdated. The flagship Apple Watch will be the Series 11 this year, and it's possible we could see a 10th anniversary redesign. We heard dramatic rumors a while back of a new magnetic band system, a dramatically thinner chassis, one that really celebrated what Apple could do a decade later. It didn't materialize last cycle, so it's possible we could see it this time. Regardless, there will be two main new features this year, the first being 5G cellular connectivity, because all Apple Watches up until this point have still been limited to 4G, and the second is blood pressure monitoring, which if Apple can figure it out this year, will be a game changer on the Apple Watch. To be able to give you notifications detecting high or low blood pressure, always checking for that into the background. It's just the reporting is pretty shaky on whether they figured it out this year or if it again is pushed down the road. I hope it's not though, because the Apple Watch needs a major health win. There has not been a breakthrough in more than 5 years at this point. But the Apple Watch I'm personally most excited for is a new Apple Watch Ultra. A 3rd generation proper update is coming, and based on leaked information in the latest iOS 26 beta, it is going to have an even larger display than the 49mm housing that it currently sits in. This will likely be achieved not by Apple making the device larger, but reducing the size of the bezel around the edges, which is pretty big compared to the other Apple Watches. And alongside this, Apple could add the wide-angle OLED viewing too. This is something that exists on the current normal Apple Watch, but is still not on the Ultra for some reason. It makes it way easier to see your watch, especially if you're not looking directly at it. Like the standard Apple Watch, 5G and blood pressure monitoring would also be coming to the Ultra 3, but the flagship upgrade here is one built specific for the Ultra. Satellite connectivity from your wrist is said to be dropping. And I can already see the ads for this, considering that the Ultra has been positioned for explorers and adventurers. Satellite connectivity on the watch, I mean, to me it almost makes more sense than satellite connectivity on the iPhone. And coincidentally, improved connectivity will also be the big pitch for Apple's last new product coming at this event, the 2nd generation AirTag. According to rumors, this will have 3 times the tracking range of the original AirTag, and it's going to be more accurate thanks to Apple using a new ultra-wideband chip in the inside. AirTag 2 will also be more tamper resistant, specifically making it harder to remove or disable the speaker, because there were some issues with folks using AirTag 1 to stalk people and follow them around without them knowing. But the weirdest leak for this AirTag is that it's going to have some integration with Apple's Vision Pro VR headset. Potentially Apple's working on an AR mode to walk around your house and more easily locate your items using multiple layers of ultra-wideband chips. But honestly, that's just a guess, because I don't know how else Apple's cheapest product and their most expensive product would work together. I mean, the crossover crossover of those users. There's maybe one person out there that owns both of those products. So this brings us to when exactly Apple's September event is happening. According to sources, it will be held on Tuesday, September 9th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This matches up pretty much one-to-one with Apple's dates for events in the past. It's possible it could also be the 8th or the 10th, a day before or a day after, but that sounds right to me. So not much longer, like actually less than a month now for all of these products to be announced. If you enjoyed this video or if you learned something new, it helps me out if you drop a like and hit subscribe for more as we get closer to Apple's September event in under a couple weeks. Okay, I've been Sam. I hope you're doing well, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye-bye.